Good morning. Thank you for tuning in to another morning therapy with Barry B. It's a beautiful morning. Another 5:30 wake up. Gotta be up early. I got my plants producing some fresh O2 for me. To address that real quick, it's only like 2 plants over there, but if you think back to elementary school biology, you learn that plants give off oxygen. Doesn't matter if it's one, doesn't matter if it's half. They bring in the carbon monoxide, dioxide, bring in the carbon dioxide and convert it into that oxygen that you and I breathe. So if you're around plants or you're around nature, I encourage you to just stop for a second, look, and embrace that fresh air that you got hitting your lungs. Shit hits different. And if you're in a concrete jungle, goddamn, I'm sorry. I encourage you to hit your local Mohawks or Earl May, whatever they call your plant shop, and get you a plant so you can breathe in that fresh O2. But enough of that. Before we get started today though, please punch that subscribe right down there. If you're on YouTube, I appreciate it. Tune into my daily content. I hope y'all enjoy it. If you're not on YouTube though, give me some likes, some thumbs up, some dislikes. Give me some hearts, some angry faces, some crying faces. Hop in my comment section, tell me what you think about it. Give me the honest truth. I value interaction with all of the viewers that tune into my stuff. Like I say every day, even if you think the shit's corny, even if you think the content is irrelevant, please interact with me. I'm a real person too. But to jump in to today's topic, it's going off of some deciding events that happened in the city that I'm from. So I'm from Omaha, Nebraska, and back at the beginning of June, we had a young man that was killed during a protest for George Floyd that happened in our downtown district. And initially at the killing, the man who killed him was not charged with anything and was released within a matter of hours. The young man's name was James Gerlach. And yesterday, we had a grand jury decide to indict his killer, Jake Gardner, after deliberation. And, it was a beautiful thing to see that. Doesn't mean that, it's over, no, but, it's a step in the right direction to look at justice in the whole sense. But I'm not going to get too much on that, but the topic comes from that, and it comes from human rights. What are human rights? What do we deserve to be allotted as human beings walking this earth? A lot of people would say, you deserve what you work for, which, I get. And, it has some truth to that, But if you dig even deeper into the topic of human rights and the rights that some are afforded and that some are not, it gets a little tricky. Lines start to become blurred because not all things apply to everyone. As a human, there are things that we need to survive and to sustain comfortable living. You look at something like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. There's levels. There's your physical needs. You got your emotional needs. Then you can start to progress up to intellectual needs, and so on and so on and so on. But at the base, there's your physical safety and security. Food, shelter, protection. There's so many people out here who aren't even afforded those rights. They're denied them. They're told you don't deserve them. They're made to seem like they're shit because they weren't placed in a position where they had them from the jump. And then they're blamed for the circumstances that come thereafter. Now, I get it. I get it. We all have brains. We all have the capacity to think. So some onus does fall on an individual. But when you look at the situation as a whole, and you look at it from a perspective of what's the root, when people are set up to fail and they fail, or people are set in situations where they have to fight for basic human rights, you're gonna get that. You're gonna get a fight for basic human rights by any means necessary. And so for individuals to sit back and judge the results of individuals who aren't afforded the same luxuries and human rights as others from the jump, to point and to blame and to cast guilt onto them is just not fair. What if one of you took a step back, who's in a place of privilege, took a step back, had a child, and placed that child in circumstances where they weren't afforded that privilege? What would that child's experience be like? We talk about change of heart. We talk about, you need Jesus, you need Allah, you need all these different things. But how can you tell a heart that is just trying to survive the best way that it knows it can, and by any means necessary? Because if it was flipped around, you would do the same thing. If a human being is not afforded its human rights, then it'll learn to survive. It'll learn to adapt. And anybody on the outside trying to tell it how to, honestly, unless you're trying to come down to the trenches, you could go fuck yourself. Because you're speaking from a place of privilege and you're not really in there with it. Because if you were, you would understand the struggle that many people go through. That's why day in and day out, we scream for justice. We scream for our human rights. We scream for all human rights, man. And I hope that one day we can get it right. Because if we start to acknowledge the rights that all human beings have, all human beings, then maybe I won't have to do therapy with Barry B. You know what I'm saying? What would we need therapy for? We wouldn't. Because we would all be able to cognitively process and elevate. Because we wouldn't feel insecure. We wouldn't feel less than. We wouldn't need to think that we need to be better. all of that. So my challenge today is, if you're viewing this and, you're in a place of privilege, and that means you don't want for much. You're comfortable. And that could be anybody. You got things going on for yourself. Financially, you're secure. Physically, you feel safe. If you're in a place of privilege, I challenge you to tap in to your community on a real deal, and not just one where you're coming in as a savior, but where you're actually getting to know the individuals who feel the exact opposite of you, because their experience is real. And unless you understand that, and unless you see that, and unless you acknowledge that, there's always going to be a disconnect. Let me know what that experience is like. Let me know what you think of this content today. Comment down there. Make sure you punch that subscribe. Give me them likes. Give me them hearts. Give me them dislikes. Tell me I'm a corny motherfucker. I appreciate y'all for tuning in to another morning therapy with Barry B.